We are proudly supported by American Express. Whether you're baking bread at sunrise or serving drinks into the night, American Express has your back. As a Square seller, you pay one low rate to accept all major cards, including American Express, and you can order your complimentary signage to attract more customers directly to your door at amexpop.com/square.
Yeah, I remember talking to the team that night. I cried. I cried in front of them.
What I would not do, and write this down, put it in highlight, don't do it.
We made so many mistakes that we're always going to make.
Don't let Lorenzo measure the store.
A lot of them were terrified that the business would fail within 6 months. They said that in those words. They were like, you will not survive 6 months.
And you have to try it. You have to just roll the dice. I think you have to take those risks.
This is Cool Room Confessional, a podcast by Square. In this series, we're offering hospo business owners a place to confess their problems. With some expert help, we're going to try and solve them. I'm Melissa Leong. I've been a writer, culinary critic and TV judge. Today I'm meeting Chris Norris. He's the owner of Opus Coffee. His portfolio is about to triple and he's in the market for someone to share the load. Let's pretend you're about to open your third hospitality venue. Your spare time is precious and limited. So how do you spend it? If you're Wollongong cafe owner Chris Norris, you walk out of your cafe and into another one.
My downtime, literally when I'm at Opus, I'll be like, oh, thank God, now I can go to someone else's cafe and just sit there, drink coffee, eat food.
Caffeine addiction? Undoubtedly. But this is also research, and it's how Chris has gone from being a newcomer to the cafe scene and within a short time period, opened 3 venues as a solo operator.
Found out Opus was for sale because I used to go there, it was like my cafe. Didn't even know it was for sale. And everyone had their pass at it. It was actually kind of pretty well priced from what I understand businesses to be now. Straight up, no hospitality experience. I'm going to go ahead and own that.
Chris is a details dude. He likes things to look good and work even better.
Right. ADHD, attention to detail, which is hard to let go.
Opus's success is down to strategy. Gaming the venue, gaming the menu.
20% of the menu is probably 80% of the sales.
And gaming the prices.
Almond, oat and soy in palette. We've nailed everything we can nail in terms of product and supply.
But this is one game Chris would like to open to another player.
I didn't know what to expect. That's one question I ask people in my situation. As an owner of a business that has 3 businesses, what do I do? What is my day?
But who, where and how do you find a business partner if you have no willing friends or family lined up? Or are there other ways of sharing the load? Chris Norris, Opus Coffee Brewers owner, is with us now. Welcome, Chris.
Hello.
Can you describe your venue and what you do?
So I've got a cafe, essentially like a classic Australian culture cafe. I want to say really good coffee. I'm sure everyone says really good coffee. Yeah, we're always guesting in guest roasters every 2 weeks just to mix it up to keep things interesting there. Most of the products are made in-house, bagels, roll that every morning. It's actually a tragically small site for what we do, thus the expansion.
You're actually shopping for people to take on this load with you. Speaking of expansions, where are you now in terms of your capacity to be running the venue that you have and the 2 venues that are in that rollout?
In terms of Opus, where I used to be the manager there, because I found it really hard to be a full-time manager on site and then have any energy to fit out a new shop. So I've got someone in to do front of house for the venue managing of Opus. And now I'm kind of just the official call Chris guy. I work full-time just project managing these other sites, trying to get them operational.
Stepping out of the business so that you can work on the business, in effect.
Pretty much.
The goalposts keep moving.
None of them are the same. There's Opus, its own thing, bagel shop. The second venue being Mid Bagels, which is just straight up a bagel shop and a little micro bakery. And the goal there was to supply Opus with better bagels, bigger oven, move from a combi oven to a deck oven, And then the third venue came around where it was a local business came up for sale, and it was a sandwich shop, and we kind of did the math, worked it out, like, you know, procedure-wise, delivery runs, and we're like, yeah, this works. Then we got snaked on the bid for that. And then we got really keen, so then we found another site that was available, and we just added that to the repertoire, and we said, yeah, it'll be fun and a learning experience opening two at once, which it has been.
Joe Vargetto is someone that I really wanted to speak with, Chris, not only because of, you know, this conversation over multiple venues that all have a different personality and some differentiation. Joe, your venues, Mr. Bianco, Massi, Fondanta, 1872. You're very successful across lots of different venues. You love to have lots of fingers in different pies, but you also coach other businesses in the industry and you love to see them succeed.
Absolutely, yeah. I was very fortunate to have a very varied career, in the sense of I did my formal apprenticeship. I went overseas and worked at Michelin-starred restaurants and got my head bashed in a few times, and you know what I mean?
You've learned the ropes the hard way. Now tell us a bit about your venues. You've played with a couple of different ownership models over your time in business ownership, starting off with partnership.
My first place in 2006 was with a partner. That went really, really well. But I think what I found out very early is that when you take on a partner, you don't just take on a partner, you take on everything behind them.
Yep, their family, their lives.
Their habits, everything. You know, your partner might come up with financials to be your partner, but then you take on their lifestyle. And I always say to myself, it's never about the money, it's about the partnership and the relationship, because if you can get that right, everything will blossom.
Yeah, it's really about the fit beyond just whether or not you have the money to come to the party to support the business.
What other things are you offering as well? So is it advice? Is it, you know, marketing strategies? Is it how to coach staff? So there's a lot a partner can bring, but also there's a lot a partner can dissolve as well.
Now, Chris is looking at that big step of taking on potentially partners to share in with the work. What sort of advice can you give him in terms of the benefits of sharing a business with partners?
Chris, if it's your idea and your vision, you need to really implement what that idea and vision is and take the partnership, I think, slowly. Maybe have a grace period of, 90 days, 6 months, but also look at the exit clause as well. So how does it look when everything is really beautiful, and how does it look when everything is really bad? And I've seen partnerships dissolve over when it's really successful because one wants this much money, one wants this much time off, and they don't see eye to eye. And then sometimes you see partnerships dissolve when one has something in their lives that is not good.
When things aren't quite aligned.
Correct. Firstly, I think introduce it as it's your vision. You want to celebrate the fact that you want a partner, but what does the partner look like? I think if you just kind of take on anyone off the street and hope for the best, hope sometimes doesn't help. You know?
Chris, do you have any questions about how to go about choosing a partner or where to find one?
Yeah, definitely. 3 is kind of scary, but I mean, the plan is more after 3. So kind of thinking ahead, I want someone to fit that role. How do you find that person in the sense of, are they in your organization already? How do they buy in to a venue where, in my instance, I am funding the fit outs, essentially the outlay of like everything is funded by me. So then I need talent. I need to kind of know someone's going to be there. Like I'll go to sleep not wondering if I'm going to get a call. Is it like, let's get you on salary, no ownership, with the long-term plan being there's some sort of buy-in? Don't know what that looks like in the sense of, is there an outlay for a partner? Like agreed upon percentage of business worth for agreed upon ownership? You know, those are the questions I'm kind of trying to get my head around.
Yeah. I think the question for yourself is, what do you want to get out of it? Number 1 and 2 have to pay for 3 and 4. You know, if you go back to a little kind of concept plan for yourself and ask those questions, then kind of release those things to someone possibly that's working in your business that you find trustworthy. Usually a lot of people in hospitality don't have a lot of money. So if you're asking for some sort of outlay of finance, usually they don't have it. So then you put them on some sort of maybe 3-year ownership plan.
Yeah. The idea that when someone's in, they're in is something I know I've got to get around in terms of like figuring out a contract. Like, I don't want no contract. You come in, you buy in, and then you're like, okay, great. Now I don't have to work in the venue.
What are these strict parameters to keep them online after 3 years? Because what I've seen as well is that once you talk about ownership and they sign the contract of ownership, most times they go the other way because, now I'm the owner. I can do what I like.
I think my biggest thing is like, how do you pick them? Yeah, I feel like you have to work with them. Like, you can't just be like, I'm advertising for a business partner on Seek, I'm taking applications, doing interviews. Like,
there's no Hinge for partnerships.
Yeah, totally. There's a model.
There's a concept there.
I think a business partner is very much like a marriage or, a long-term relationship. Having dates with your business partner for a period of time. Maybe you have something like 6 months. A lot of people can put on makeup really well, and they come in for the first couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm going to do this.
Put your best foot forward.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. And then the makeup starts to come off and you see possibly the joker behind all of that stuff, and they just kind of wear down because their intention or their intent is not from the heart.
When you're finding a business partner, you could take lessons from other businesses that are on their way up, like Frickin' Chicken. The business's 4 partners have different strengths. They don't all come from a hospitality background. Mo Saad says that's what makes Frickin' Chicken fly.
Went to uni, did corporate IT, so I bring that to the table. The team or the founders are multidisciplinary, so not only just the food aspect, they also have the customer service and then your branding in terms of your product, your packaging, the socials, online presence.
Like, I had no hospo experience. I suddenly have a cafe and I'm moving from back of house to front of house, and I've straight up got no idea. But I feel like having been through it with the interest and the drive for service and experience, if you find that person, I feel like they don't have to run 6 hospitality venues.
Yeah.
Anyone with Macca's experience, man, that's gold. We love that. Yeah.
We know Chris likes to go to other cafes for inspiration. And in the case of Opus, he even bought his favourite hangout. But maybe he can use his hobby to find a business partner too, especially if he likes how they make a latte.
How would this go? Like, they do great coffee. Like, how do you even be like, hey, you should open a shop and we should partner up? Or, yeah, like, it's just that's a wild thought, because I had that thought. I feel like it's all just about, like, you say you want to start that conversation in terms of like a conversation, not the conversation of, do you want to open a shop? It might just be about figuring out this person and figuring out what they are doing and why they're doing it.
You're already in a venue where you can ask them out for a coffee. So
yeah, true. Hey, do you want to?
Yeah, just want to.
Table 2.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Just you and me. Let's have a chat. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes just having open conversations with people and just genuinely connecting with people is the way that you can get a gauge for their energy, get a gauge for what they're interested in, what they might be interested in the future. I think one thing that really strikes me about you is you have such an entrepreneurial spirit. You can identify the gaps. You can see where there's an opportunity for something. Sometimes all it takes is guts to be the plucky person that steps up and says, hey, how about it?
Yeah, true.
So if that's a strength of yours, then I say go for it. While we're talking about business partnerships like relationships, Hannah Green from Etta Dining has a tip she wished she'd known. Have the hard conversation before things get toxic.
Get a couples counsellor or somebody before, when it's all honeymoon and la-la and you're, passionate and this is what you're doing and it's great. You need to have systems in place when you come up against things, because if you can't have an open dialogue with the person that you're going into business with, I personally don't feel it will work.
There's a lot, and I think doing this now for about 18 odd years by myself and also with a partner, there's a lot of pitfalls, but there's also a lot of celebration as well.
So we've talked about partnerships, but with 2 new venues coming online, Chris and Joe, we have a lot more to discuss. This podcast is thanks to Square. Hospitality has enough on their plate. Square builds business tools that help hospo businesses like yours run smoothly. It's more than just payments. From table layouts to a digital ticket system for your kitchen, it's all integrated and it all talks to each other, because service still matters. Find out more at square.com/my/service. Joe, when businesses are going well, of course, there's a lot to celebrate and you do learn, but arguably failure is where we all as human beings learn the most when it comes to partnerships and business ownership. When things don't go so well, when do you call it?
Good question. It's a bit like a bad boyfriend or bad girlfriend. I'm going to try to help him. I'm going to turn them around. It's often the case. They're not going to. So I always say, just cut it early. It's the best way to do it, whether you can rebuy them out or you just kind of pull the pin, because often the case you're throwing good money for bad, and in 6 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, you could be financially broken.
This is an issue that's so universal it has a name, the sunken cost fallacy, when you've invested so much energy, time or money that it feels wrong to throw it all away. Whether it's a personal relationship, a partnership or a whole business, there's sometimes a point where you have to face facts. The tricky thing is, it's not always easy to tell when you're digging yourself into a hole you can't get out of. Is it as simple as that it's a gut instinct, this is clearly not going to work, therefore it's not going to work no matter how much effort you put in? So cut it early is the best advice you can give?
I think so. Either you dismantle the business or you take the business away. And I think that you always need to have some sort of clause, an out clause or an exit clause in it.
Chris, with 1 venue live and 2 on the cards, that means staff and training. You obviously want to retain staff once you've invested in that hard-earned training. Do you have any plans on that front? And do you have any questions for Joe in terms of staff retention?
True. It is a bit daunting, like opening 2 at once. I do plan on promoting up some key people. Weirdly enough, Opus has never had an issue getting talent. So I'm kind of weirdly going into this thinking it won't be a problem, in my delusion.
How far is the Delulu going to take you?
Yeah. I don't know. They're cool venues. I'm a foodie. I love fit outs. I walk into a venue and I just froth the fit out. That's number one for me. I feel like once we start putting up photos of what the venue is going to look like, it's going to be appealing to that younger age group that want to be in that scene. In terms of holding on to talent, I don't know, the idea that here is what I want for the venue, but I'm also not going to say, here is your menu, go make it. Creative freedom is pretty important for me to pass that on. I think I'm going to be all right. Ask me again in 10 weeks, we open the sandwich shop.
Joe, any advice?
One statement you just said, I think we're going to be all right, kind of worries me.
Yeah.
But you have to bring a concept as close to reality without obviously opening the doors, on paper as close as possible. Your accounts or your budgets or your concepts, daily takings, how does that all kind of look? Giving a lot of your key people creative freedom sometimes is the death nail. I think creative freedom to people that have shown their worth is not a problem, or someone that's come across from another venue that has been there, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, that has a proven track record. What you believe in trust is, your 100%, someone's trust is very wishy-washy. After a couple of weeks, they go, I'm going to be in at 4 o'clock. It doesn't work sometimes. It just doesn't work.
Sort of sounds like there's some hard and fast lines that you really need to lay down, and then knowing where to colour outside the lines is something that you both have to agree on, both you as the primary owner and then your partners as well. Chris, bagels are your jam. That's what you do. Are you looking for any improvements or efficiencies with more venues when it comes to bagels as a product that you're producing?
We've hit a capacity for what we can actually roll in our kitchen. We kind of have that issue where we constantly run out of bagels. It's a good and bad thing. I mean, I kind of like running out. I don't like running out when it's 11. The big reason for a new venue is let's get a cool room. Let's move to overnight proofs. Quality of product I'm pretty excited about. So moving from just a standard combi oven to a baker's deck oven, higher temperatures. Quantity, we're going to be able to supply 2 venues worth of a better quality product using one site to make a chain. I feel like I can't get a product that's our quality or better. All I can do is pay more for a lesser product. So the idea that we can make our product even cheaper, it's just kind of exciting there.
The price matrix is something that everyone's grappling with at the moment. And, you know, you've been talking about being clever with your pricing options. What does that look like for you?
So our last menu, we decided just to consolidate on some of the bigger priced items, bring them down a little bit, see how that goes. Making the products less expensive just means overall less gross, but kind of wasn't the case in the end. So that seemed to work, and we kept that on our latest menu as well, just a bit more conscious on the environment at the moment. Like, it's not post-COVID times anymore where people are just excited.
Just happy to be here.
Yeah. So it's kind of worked out, and it's still in the model for at least the next menu. We're going to assess thereafter. We're not just being like, oh, we'll take $1 off this, $2 off that, and hopefully it's all good.
You know why you're doing it.
Yeah. I feel like it's working. Like, we knew what we were doing and we knew what we wanted it to do, and I feel like that's worked.
Joe, this is a pretty crucial time for Chris, you know, with 2 venues burgeoning as we speak. Do you have any questions for Chris that he should be thinking about in this pretty unique window of time before these 2 venues come to life?
Yeah, for sure. Staff come to you for help. Do you have anyone that you go to for help?
Yeah, I've got a soundboarding person, and then I've got an actual advice person. My soundboard's my mum, so I usually just talk with mum and realize she doesn't have anything too helpful to say, and I kind of come to the conclusions myself. But I do use like a coaching team, like an industry-specific coaching group. Mm-hmm. They would be my official, you know, I've actually got this really specific issue. Can I have some advice?
Getting targeted advice is crucial when you're bringing a business to the next level, or just trying to clear a hurdle that's stopping you from reaching your goals. As Chris has identified, sometimes you need to go beyond family and friends to get honest feedback. If you don't remember, Chris has 3 businesses: Opus Coffee and another 2 that are about to open their doors, a bakery that also supplies bagels to the other stores, and a European-style sandwich shop that will also open in the evenings for dinner.
Didn't really plan on having the Sando shop as a dinner venue or it making its own product. That was going to come from our like micro bakery. But we kind of had the idea, like, we're in a really densely populated residential area and there's just nothing out that way. So we're like, let's go there for a sandwich shop. It'll be great out of town. Parking's great, whatever. But then night times, it's like, well, there's even less. So we're like, oh, let's put a deck oven in the sandwich shop and we'll do pizzas at night. So the idea that it's changed from like a day venue, trading 7 days a week, it's like a little 70 square meter site. And now it's a day venue, 7 days plus 4 nights.
Can I ask one question?
Definitely.
Why do you want to do 7 days? Is 7 days optimal, or would you want to have a look at your trading hours? You know, I used to do 7 days, 6 days and so on. And now what I found is that you take a day off, or you even take 2 days off. We're closed Sundays and Mondays. And sometimes you do the same revenues in 5 days, maybe taking a trading day away and giving everyone a day off. And sometimes that can cull your payroll, by maybe 10%, giving everyone a day off together.
Yeah.
If you give them too much, they don't want it.
It like consolidates in.
Maybe opening a day where it's more of a delicatessen, or maybe at nights is a delicatessen or kind of a quasi supermarket where you can is your coffee machine close to a window where you can do takeaway coffees and things like that as people walk past.
Yeah.
Because what I'm trying to work out is, does everything have to be in-house? Because there's a lot of technologies, and Square is really, really good at what they do. And a lot of these things that they can do is, interact with your website. For example, I want to pick up lunch at 1 o'clock, tuck, tuck, tuck. 1 o'clock, you put it in a beautiful bag and off they go. And having guests in-house is sometimes more costly than if they just pick up a brown paper bag and off they go. Maybe at nights you don't open, and what you do is you create meal packages or dinner packages where, people think, well, Jesus Christ, I can get a roast chicken, a focaccia, some lovely potato salad, and you're open between 6 and 7:30 just for
Chateau-style take-home meal.
Which they do in Italy. It's called a rosticceria. And they're open up till about 8 o'clock, and they've got beautiful potatoes and roast chickens and all the rest. It's
that
beautiful
sounds so
food.
much more elegant than a bachelor's handbag.
Yeah.
Joe, lots of really sound advice there about different things that Chris can think about. Chris, you've already experienced such success with Opus. Looking back at what you've achieved so far with your trajectory, are there any things that you would have done differently?
Something I'm putting into practice right now was the fit out. So I took over Opus from an existing owner and did that thing where I walk into a venue and what would I do different? Had what I wanted to do to the site pretty much good to go, but just the advice I got at the time was like, be a little bit conservative on the fit out. And I've kind of always regretted not doing a few things, and it actually costs me later on in terms of a shutdown and then more expense to implement somewhat of that original plan. So now I'm taking that into these venues and thinking, I found myself just like going over the plan, taking everything apart, probably like the 5th time.
Measure 5 times, cut once.
That's probably been my biggest takeaway in like the last 3.5 years. I'll be honest, I feel like it's been a great 3 years. So if that's my biggest lesson learned, I think I can acknowledge that's a good thing.
Yeah. If I can say one thing, you're going to look into an oven and you know you're going to grow. And let's say you're buying an oven with a 4 tray compared to an 8 tray or a stove top and so on. Always look to buy the bigger one, because then you can grow into it without having to kind of, pull things apart and waste time.
Yeah, definitely.
But manage your time as well, and consistency. Like on a Monday, that's what you do. Tuesday, that's what you do. Wednesday, there's always, maybe your team management meeting. So everyone that works under you or for you, let's say, they always understand you're going to have these questions for them.
My organization software, I've got like my week, Monday, Tuesday, all of it. I'm like, what do I actually do anymore?
Like just about every founder who goes from one to multiple venues, he's wondering how and where his time is best spent. Luke Weirty, co-founder and co-owner of Birdie Bar in Melbourne, has given himself a rule.
I had a huge realization when my son was born that I had to weigh up, okay, what is valuable time and what's time that's sort of wasted. And I came up with taking out the bins at 3 a.m, being here till absolute close and locking up. That's not a good use of my time.
I can't run any one shop as well. So I feel like it's just about literally just driving to each venue every day. But I feel like now I'm getting into a stage where I'm people managing.
I think you've definitely hit the nail on the head there. I think clarifying your function, realising that at this stage in owning multiple businesses, it is about people, it is about motivation.
Yeah.
What I'm facing at the moment is that people are now wanting you to work out the issues. So give it back to them. How would we change all this? What's the customer feedback? Always kind of give it back to them to be part of the solution. What you do it really, really well, be consistent, and just protect your golden goose.
Chris, any takeaways from today?
I think my biggest takeaway is do what you do really well, something you said there. It's really hard to not just do the whole thing at once in terms of going back to foundations. It hit pretty well. I mean, for us, we just lost 2 of our bakers and they were really good too. One just changed cities and the other just has a hand injury. So our product, doing what you do well, is the bagels. So keeping an eye on that in terms of training and making, if we lose another baker, we'd be in a bit of a pickle. So yeah, something to think about there. That's my takeaway.
Some very sound advice from you. Thank you so much for being here, Joe.
My pleasure. It's been great.
Thanks for having us.
So what have we learned, and how can Chris use these lessons as he opens his 2nd and 3rd venues?
I do know we can go further together. So I think I am going to be pushing on for a 4th with a partner to take some of that stress off, because ultimately I'm responsible for everything.
The first lesson, approach business partnership a bit like a relationship. Go on dates and find out what makes the other person tick. Sign on the dotted line with clearly defined roles and plan your exit. The next lesson, quality is king when it comes to product. In Chris's case, bagels are the hero of his business and he has to protect their quality. And an important one, be data-driven. Stay across insights on your cost of goods in each item of your menu and sales figures, like Chris does with Square. And coming up next on Cool Room Confessional.
And you will go and you will see Belgian dining, Belgian restaurant. I would say the majority of the people will go, oh, I don't know what it is.
Dedicating so much menu space to desserts is probably not the best use of your time.
This podcast is thanks to Square. Hospitality has enough on their plate. Square builds business tools that help hospo businesses like yours run smoothly. It's more than just payments, from table layouts to a digital ticketing system for your kitchen. It's all integrated and it all talks to each other, because service still matters. Find out more at square.com/my/coolroom. We are proudly supported by American Express. Did you know that Square sellers automatically accept American Express for the same low rate as all other cards? Let American Express card members know that you support their payment method of choice with Square. Get your complimentary signage and suppliers at amexpop.com/square to help you attract more customers.